I died, choking on my own blood, the metallic tang flooding my mouth as the prison guards laughed and turned away, their boots echoing down the cold concrete hall like the final drumbeat of my worthless life. Betrayed by the family who'd sworn to love me. Framed for a crime I didn't commit. I clawed at the noose of lies they'd tied around my neck until the darkness swallowed me whole, then spat me back out into the body of a 25-year-old me. Gasping awake in a shitty Brooklyn apartment that smelled like stale ramen and shattered dreams. This time, I wasn't going to beg for their scraps. I was going to burn their world down and watch them beg for mine. The alarm clock buzzed like a hornet in my skull, yanking me from the nightmare that wasn't a nightmare at all. My hands, younger, unscarred, shot up to my throat, fingers trembling as they traced skin that hadn't yet been bruised by the rough hands of those who'd processed me into hell. July 15th, 2018. The date burned in my brain like a brand. 3 years before the wedding that never happened. Before the frame job that landed me in Rikers for embezzlement I sure as shit didn't do. Before Mom and Dad, those holier-than-thou pillars of suburban Connecticut perfection, disowned me over a voicemail that dripped with their signature disappointment. Savannah, we've got our reputation to think of. Don't call again. I swung my legs off the lumpy mattress, bare feet hitting the warped floorboards of my one-room walk-up in Bushwick. The walls were paper-thin. Neighbors' arguments seeping through like toxic fog, some guy yelling about child support, a woman sobbing over rent. Same old symphony of the forgotten. But I wasn't forgotten anymore. Not in my head. I stumbled to the bathroom mirror, cracked from when I'd punched it after my first big rejection, and stared at the reflection, wild auburn curls tangled from sleep, green eyes bloodshot but fierce, freckles dusting a nose that still looked too Irish for the wasp world my parents craved. Savannah Riley, age 25. Fresh out of NYU's business program with a degree in finance and zero job prospects because Daddy Dearest blackballed me from every internship on the East Coast. Fuck them, I whispered, the words tasting like revenge-warmed whiskey. In my past life or future, depending on how you slice the cosmic joke, I'd clawed my way up anyway. Started as a barista at that hipster spot in Williamsburg, slinging oat milk lattes to trust fund kids who tipped in crypto. Networked my ass off at open mics, pretending my poetry slams were elevators to boardrooms. Landed a gig at a mid-tier hedge fund in Midtown, crunching numbers for sleazy execs who eyed my skirt more than my spreadsheets. And then, the pinnacle, proposed to by Ethan Hargrove, golden boy of Wall Street, heir to a real estate empire that spanned from Manhattan lofts to Miami condos. Our wedding was set for the country club in Greenwich, white tents, string quartet, the whole Gatsby fever dream. They didn't show. Mom sent flowers, wilted lilies. Her passive-aggressive specialty, with a note, wishing you joy from afar. Family first. Dad, radio silence. Until the headlines hit. Hargrove heiress's fiancé and embezzlement scandal. Fiancé's shady past exposed. A shady past? That was their doing. They'd fed the tip to Ethan's PI. Dredging up my wild college years. A misdemeanor for underage drinking at a frat party they never bailed me out of. But the real knife? Planting evidence in my work files. Subtle digital ghosts of falsified trades that pointed straight to me. Why? Because Ethan discovered their dirty secret, Dad's gambling debts. Funneled through Mom's charity shell company. Totaling $500,000. They couldn't risk me. Their estranged black sheep. Sniffing it out during the prenup due diligence. So they framed me, watched me rot, and collected the insurance payout from Ethan's family pity fund when I couldn't handle the stress and offed myself in my cell. Except I didn't. The guards made sure of that.
Now.
Reborn in this sweat-soaked dawn, I had the playbook. Every lie, every timestamp, every whispered phone call I'd overheard in my fevered last hours. My phone buzzed on the sink, voicemail from an unknown Connecticut number. I hit play, heart slamming like a bass drop. Savannah, it's your mother.
We're concerned.
Your father's firm is facing some scrutiny, and we need to know if you've been talking to anyone about family matters. Call us back. Immediately, the line went dead. Her voice that same ice silk. In the old timeline, I'd called, begged for help with my career slump, and handed them the rope. This time, I deleted it, blocked the number, and smashed the phone against the tile. Shards scattered like confetti for a funeral. Mine. Almost. I needed a plan.
Fast.
Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a goddamn marathon with landmines. Step 1: money. Real money. Not the chump change from slinging coffee. I rifled through my closet, thrift store blazers and knockoff heels from Canal Street, and pulled out the one asset I'd forgotten, Grandma Riley's antique brooch. A gaudy emerald thing she'd left me in her will before Dad contested it and lost it in storage. Worth a cool 10 grand on a good day. Pawn shops in Brooklyn were sharks. But I knew a guy from Poetry Nights, Marco, who ran a discreet spot in Bed-Stuy with fences that didn't ask questions. By noon, I was on the G train, the brooch heavy in my pocket like a grenade pin. The car rattled through graffiti-tagged tunnels, bodies pressed too close, a reminder of how small I'd let myself feel. No more. Marco's shop was a hole in the wall between a bodega and a vape lounge. Sign reading Cash for Gold, We Buy Memories. He was behind the counter, tattooed knuckles flipping through a dog-eared ledger, his salt and pepper beard twitching as I slid the brooch across the glass. Savvy girl, he grunted, eyes lighting up like he'd hit the lotto. This is Riley Fire. What's the story? Ex's grandmother's curse. I lied smoothly, channeling the old me who'd sweet-talked clients. Need quick cash to start over. He appraised it under a jeweler's loupe, whistling low.
8-5.
Take it or leave it. 9-2. And you throw in a tip on legit investments. I'm done with retail. Marco chuckled, a rumble like distant thunder. Feisty today.
All right.
9-2. And the tip? Bitcoin's bubbling. Buy low on that app.
Coinbase.
But watch the volatility, it's a bitch. Handshakes sealed it. 9 grand and change in crisp hundreds, stuffed in my bra like contraband. Back on the street, sun baking the asphalt into waves. I downloaded the app on a burner phone from the bodega. 2,500 in. At today's dip. In 3 years. It'd be a fortune if I timed the crashes right. But that was small potatoes. I needed leverage. Real dirt. The old timeline's ghosts whisper the path, infiltrate the Hargrove circle early. Ethan was already a junior analyst at his family's firm, schmoozing at galas I'd crashed post-rebirth. But no rushing the kill shot. First, build the facade. I hit up my contacts, the barista gig for cover, but nights at networking mixers in Soho lofts. Dressed in borrowed silk from a roommate's closet, I became the ghost of future Savannah, charming, calculated, with a laugh that disarmed and eyes that dissected. First mixer, a rooftop affair at some tech startup's launch, Hudson River glittering below like fool's gold. I nursed a gin and tonic, scanning the crowd, venture bros in slim-fit suits, influencers snapping selfies. Then, there he was, Ethan Hargrove, 27 and already owning the room. Blonde hair artfully tousled, that megawatt smile flashing as he pitched to a cluster of suits. In the old life, I'd fallen for it hook, line, sinker. This time, I saw the cracks, the way his laugh didn't reach his eyes, the subtle glance at his Rolex every 5 minutes. I sidled up during a lull, accidentally brushing his arm as I reached for a past hors d'oeuvre. Sorry, clumsy in these heels.
You look like you know your way around a pitch.
What's the secret? He turned, blue eyes locking on like radar. Practice and a dash of bullshit.
Ethan. And you.
Savannah. Just a finance drone dreaming big. Lie one. I downplayed the NYU shine. Let him think I was eager. Moldable. We talk shop, derivatives, blockchain hype, and by the third drink, he was scribbling his card on a napkin. Dinner? Thursday. I know a spot in the village that does oysters like nobody's business. Hook set. But as I pocketed the card, my phone vibrated, a text from an unknown. Saw you on Insta. We need to talk. Mom, they'd found me. Of course. Social media was their hunting ground. I deleted it, but the chill lingered. They were circling already, sensing weakness. Good. Let them. I'd feed them just enough rope this time. Weeks blurred into a calculated dance. Dinners with Ethan turned to weekends in the Hamptons. His family's cottage, a sprawling McMansion with infinity pools and staff that anticipated your hangover cure. I played the part, wide-eyed at his world, whispering ambitions in bed that mirrored his ego. You're going places.
Ethan.
Take me with you. He ate it up, introducing me to his circle, the trust fund vipers who slithered through boardrooms. But nights alone. In my upgrading apartment, sublet in Cobble Hill. Thanks to crypto gains. I dug. Laptop glowing in the dark. VPN masked. I hacked basic trails, nothing fancy. Just public records and leaked emails from Dad's firm. There it was, the shell company. Riley Outreach Foundation, funneling cash to offshore poker sites. Mom's signature on the filings. Elegant loops hiding felony fraud. Proof. But not enough to bury them. Not yet. Ethan proposed after 6 months. On a yacht off Nantucket. Ring glinting like a shackle. Marry me.
Save.
We'll rule this city. In the old timeline, I'd said yes. Blinded by the fairy tale. This time, I hesitated just a beat for the drama. It's fast. My family's complicated. He waved it off. Screw them. We make our own. Wedding planning kicked into overdrive. Vera Wong gown, florist from the Met Gala circuit. Invites went out, gold embossed, to 500, including Mom and Dad. In the past life, they'd ghosted. This time, I'd make them come crawling. The first crack showed at the engagement party. A blowout at Le Bernardin. Ethan's parents, crisp as new bills, cornered me in the powder room. We're thrilled,
dear.
But we've heard whispers about your background. Nothing serious, I'm sure. Whispers. Their PI work, courtesy of my parents' anonymous tip line. I smiled. Porcelain. Old noise from small people. Ethan's the future. Mrs. Hargrove's eyes narrowed, but she nodded. Game on. As RSVPs trickled in, the omission stung like salt in wounds, blank from Connecticut. I didn't chase. Instead, I escalated. Leaked a tip to a financial blogger anonymous. Via Tor, hinting at irregularities in Riley investments. Nothing damning. Just enough to make Dad sweat.
Then.
The call came. Mom's number. Unblocked for this very moment. Savannah. Darling.
We.
Regret missing the engagement. Family obligations. But the wedding will be there. Of course. Liar. I could hear the calculation. The scan of my registry for the Porsche, key fob I jokingly added. Wonderful. See you at the altar. But the real hooks sank deeper when they arrived uninvited to the rehearsal dinner, pulling up in their leased Lexus like beggars at a feast.
Dad.
Silver temples gleaming under the chandeliers. Clapped Ethan on the back, too hard. Mom air-kissed my cheeks, her perfume cloying as regret. You look radiant.
Sweetie.
That ring, stunning. Ethan beamed. Oblivious. Mr. And Mrs. Riley, glad you made it. They hadn't. Not really. Their eyes darted to the Hargrove patriarch's Rolex, to the waitstaff pouring vintage Dom.
To me?
The golden ticket they'd discarded. Dinner dragged, toast sloshing with champagne and subtext. Dad cornered me by the dessert cart. Proud of you.
Kiddo.
But listen about that old family business. Water under the bridge. I sipped my flute, eyes locked. Bridges burn easy.
Dad.
Careful what you cross. His smile faltered. Mom fluttered over, changing the subject to centerpieces. But as they drove off, taillights fading into the night, I knew the Porsche was coming. Not as a gift, but as bait. The wedding day dawned like a bad omen, slate skies over Greenwich. Humidity thick as guilt. Limos idled curbside at the country club, engines purring like complacent beasts, while guests in pastels milled the lawn, sipping mimosas from flutes that caught the reluctant sun. I stood in the bridal suite, lace gown whispering against my skin, veil a gossamer shield for the storm brewing inside. Mere Savannah stared back, poised. Porcelain, a far cry from the trembling wreck who'd sobbed in this same room 3 years from now. Abandoned and unraveling. Stunning, cooed the makeup artist, dabbing highlighter on my cheekbones. Your folks must be over the moon. I forced a laugh, light as spun sugar. Families. Complicated. But we're making it work. Downstairs. The ceremony unfolded like scripted perfection, Ethan at the altar in his tailored Tom Ford, groomsmen smirking in bow ties, the officiant droning vows that echoed hollow in my reborn ears. I walked the aisle alone, no father to give me away, just the phantom ache of his absence. Guests murmured, but the Hargroves' checkbook drowned sympathy. Rings exchanged, kiss sealed with flashbulbs popping like gunfire. Applause swelled as we recessed, but my eyes scanned the back rows, empty seats where Mom and Dad should have sat, stiff in rented tux and Chanel. Reception tent glowed like a jewel box, crystal chandeliers swaying. Jazz trio crooning Ellington under the stars. Toasts flowed, Ethan's best man roasting his tamed wildcat, my maid of honor, a sorority sister I'd kept at arm's length, gushing about destiny. I smiled through it, clinking glasses, but the no-show nod. Until the valet radioed, incoming for Riley Hargrove. Older couple. Connecticut plates. They slunk in late. Fashionably disheveled, Dad in a off-rack suit that strained at the seams. Mom's pearls askew like a noose. Apologies tumbled, Traffic from the merit. You know how it is.
Lies.
I tracked their iPass tolls. They dawdled in Stanford. Probably debating the optics over Eggs Benedict. Ethan, ever the host, pulled them into hugs. Glad you made it. Save's been talking you up. Had I? In whispers to plant seeds of doubt. Yes. Mom's eyes flicked to the gift table, stacked with Steuben and spa weekends. Then to me. Appraising. The dress. Darling. Divine. Almost like mine from '92. Almost. Mine was custom. 6 figures. Hers, clearance rack redemption. Dinner seated them at a peripheral table. Far from the head, but close enough to eavesdrop on power chats. I circulated. Plate of seared foie gras in hand, dropping barbs wrapped in silk.
To Dad.
Mid-bite. Heard about the firm's audit. Rough seas. His fork paused. Adam's apple bobbing. Just paperwork. Nothing to worry your pretty head. Mom chimed in. Voice pitched for the table. Savannah's always been the resilient one. Remember that time she got expelled from prep school? I interjected. Sweet as pie. Laughter rippled, but Dad's jaw tightened. The misdemeanor, amplified in family lore to full-blown scandal.
They're doing.
Pinning it on me to cover his DUI. As cake cutting loomed, 7 tiers of lemon bergamot bliss, the real show started. Valets wheeled in surprises. Ethan's gift. A pearl-handled Beretta for our adventures. Mine to him. A vintage Rolex Submariner. Sourced from Marco's fence network. But the jaws dropped when the garage doors rumbled open across the lot, revealing my wedding present to myself, delivered pre-dawn by discreet transport, the Porsche 911 Turbo S. Obsidian black. $152,000 MSRP. Leather seats still scented with new car leather and untapped potential. Guests owed. Phone snapping. Ethan hooped. Keys jangling as he tossed them to me. Drive it home.
Babe.
Our getaway chariot. But Mom and Dad? They froze by the punch bowl. Faces paling under the fairy lights. Dad's champagne sloshed,
Staining his tie.
Mom's hand flew to her throat, those pearls again, eyes bulging like she'd seen a ghost. My ghost.
Risen and revved.
Savannah, she breathed, weaving through the crowd as I posed by the hood, Ethan's arm slung possessively. Where on earth? Perks of the new life, I said, voice low, fingers tracing the curves like a lover's. Crypto? Consulting gigs. Turns out, cutting toxic ties pays dividends. Dad lumbered up, sweat beading his brow. This is extravagant. We could have helped, you know, with connections. Laughter bubbled from me. Genuine this time, sharp, slicing. Help? Like the internship blackball? Or the concerned calls to my bosses? Guests milled oblivious. But his eyes widened. He knew. The band struck up at last, first dance pulling me away. Ethan twirled me under the tent, whispering filth in my ear. But my gaze locked on them, huddled by the bar. Heads bent in frantic murmur. Seeds planted. Roots cracking concrete. Honeymoon blurred, St. Bart's villas. Rum punches on white sands, but reality crashed on return. Penthouse in Tribeca. Courtesy of Hargrove Strings. Boxes unpacked amid marble counters. Ethan dove back into work. 70-hour weeks sealing deals.
I
played house by day. Schemed by night. First anomaly, a letter. Cream envelope slipped under the door. Mom's script, darling. Let's bridge the gap.
Dinner soon?
Love always. Enclosed, a check. 5 grand, scribbled for the happy couple.
Bait.
I cashed it. Untraceable. Used half to seed another Bitcoin dip. The rest for a PI, not Hargrove's hack, but a grizzled ex-cop from Queens. Vinny, who owed Marco a favor. Dig on Aurelius. Offshore accounts. Gambling trails. Quiet. Vinny delivered in drips. Wire transfers to Curacao dens. Mom's emails to bookies disguised as donations. Dad's firm? Teetering. Clients jumping ship post my leak. But the gem? A recorded call. Time-stamped pre-wedding. Dad to an unknown. The girl's marrying up. If she digs, we're cooked. Feed the PI what we prepped, the college bullshit. Amp it up.
Prepped.
As in, fabricated. My blood boiled, but I banked it. Patience was the venom. Ethan noticed the shift. Over takeout pad tie one night. Feet tangled on the sectional. Your folks are weird. Called today, want to invest in our future. Sounded desperate. I arched a brow. Playing coy. Desperate how? Said something about a loan. For the firm. Laughed it off. But he trailed. Scrolling emails. Let them squirm. I upped the ante. Accepted Mom's dinner invite. A stuffy Italian in Westport. They arrived early. Dad nursing a scotch. Mom fussing with napkins. Hugs exchanged stiff.
Perfunctory.
You're glowing, Mom said. Menu trembling slightly. Marriage suits you. Money helps, I replied, ordering the veal parm without glancing. Speaking of, that check was sweet. But 5's a drop. What's the ask? Dad cleared his throat. Ty, ask you. Business hiccup. Need a bridge loan. 100K. We sign papers. Collateralize the house. Collateral. Their McMansion. Mortgage underwater from his bets. I sipped Chianti. Savoring. Hargrove money's tied up.
But
I could float it. For old time's sake. Relief washed their faces. Too quick. Too greedy. Mom squeezed my hand. You're godsend. Savvy. Godsend? Harbinger. More like. I wired it next day. Traceable. Laced with a Trojan app Vinny slipped in. Their emails pinged to my burner. Frantic searches for easy marks. Plans to flip the cash at Atlantic City high stakes. Crash came swift. Dad's firm imploded mid-October. SEC probe. Tipped by my second anonymous leak. This one with receipts. Headline screamed, Connecticut investment scandal. Embezzlement ring busted. Photos of him in cuffs. Mom wailing to cameras. Ethan paced our living room. Phone glued to ear. Jesus. Save your dad? This is nuts. I feigned shock. Curling into him on the couch. I had no idea. That loan. It was clean. Clean as a whistle I'd sharpened. But guilt flickered, not for them, but for the girl I'd been, who'd craved their nod. Buried it deep. They lawyered up. Bailed out on Hargrove's strings, ironic. That. First visit to our penthouse. Disheveled. Dad in sweats. Mom's makeup streaked. We need more, Dad rasped, collapsing into a chair. Help us fight this. Ethan was at a conference. I poured coffee. Black as their souls. Fight?
with what?
Truth. Mom sobbed. It was mistakes. For the family. Family. The word twisted like a knife. Like framing me? In the other life? They blinked. Confusion, etching lines. No, they didn't know. But I did. The gambling. The shells. You planned to pin it on me if Ethan dug during prenup. Got a PI to plant my past in his files. Dad's face drained. What the hell? Save it. I know everything. Voice steady. But pulse thundering. Controversial? Hell yes, forgiving them would have been the American dream. Bootstraps and bloodlines. This, exposing the rot. I slid over the folder, Vinny's dossier. Printouts glaring. Confess, or it goes public. Wider than the SEC. Mom wailed. Dad stared. Broken. Why? Because you killed me once. The words hung. Truth uncoiling. Not literal yet, but in that cell, their betrayal had squeezed the life out. They left shattered. Promises scrawled on napkins. But as the door clicked, my phone buzzed. Ethan's text.
Babe.
Crazy day. Love you.
Love.
The lie that bound me tighter than revenge. November frost etched the Tribeca windows, turning the skyline into a jagged ice sculpture as I paced the penthouse. Porsche keys jangling like jailer chains. The dossier drop had bought silence, Mom and Dad's confession video. Time-stamped and encrypted on a thumb drive. My nuclear deterrent. But deterrence only works if the enemy fears the blast. Their fear? It curdled into something uglier. Desperation laced with spite. Ethan's merger closed that week, a $200 million telecom buyout. Champagne sabers slicing bottles at the afterparty. I played the doting wife. Arm candy in emerald silk, laughing at insider jokes about disruptors, while my mind mapped escape routes. To empires, he toasted, clinking my flute, eyes glassy with victory and view. But as we tumbled into bed later, his hands roaming possessive, doubt slithered in. In the old timeline, this high had been our peak before the frame, before their poison seeped into his trust. Morning after, he groaned over espresso. Your folks called again. Sounded rough. Offered to consult on the next deal. Dad's connections. Connections. Crooked lifelines. I stirred sugar. Slow. After the scandal? Ballsy. He shrugged. Scrolling Bloomberg. People rebound. Like you did from that Bushwick hole to this. A kiss on my temple. Casual as cruelty. He didn't know the half, how I'd bootstrapped not just cash, but clairvoyance. Rebound. The word festered. I hit the gym downstairs, pounding the treadmill until endorphins drowned the echo. Vinny texted mid-stride, Rylas liquidating assets. House in foreclosure. Mom's hitting casinos solo. Lost $20K last night. Good. Let them drown. But the twist knotted tighter. A subpoena pinged my inbox that afternoon. Hargrove legal seal. Routine due diligence on prenup assets, Riley financials. Ethan's team. Sniffing for liabilities. My loan, that clean wire, now a red flag.
Panic? No.
Opportunity. I forwarded to Vinny. Scrub the trail. Plant a decoy, tie it to Dad's gambling. Controversial as hell. Tampering with evidence. Even in Rebirth's gray zone. But survival's not Sunday school. Ethan came home early. Tie loosened. Carrying takeout from Nobu.
Talk.
He set the boxes down. Face unreadable, that boardroom mask. My stomach dropped. About your family. The loan.
It's
Messy. SEC's circling closer because of it. He paced, words tumbling. And that PI report from before the wedding? It mentioned discrepancies in your resume. NYU transcripts don't match. Discrepancies. Their old plant. Dusted off. I sank onto the ottoman, feigning fracture. Ethan. He held up a hand. I trust you. But trust has limits. Explain. Truth or lie? The reborn me screamed exposure. Tell him everything.
the death.
The do-over. But that was fairy tale folly. Instead, my parents forged docs to sabotage me. Jealous of us. The loan was a test to catch them. His brow furrowed. Sabotage? Why? I leaned in, voice velvet over venom. Because they need us. Broke.
Scheming.
I was protecting our future. Paws stretched. Electric. Then, he exhaled, pulling me up. Fuck. Okay. We'll lawyer it. Relief. But hollow. Their web was tightening. Threads I hadn't foreseen. Climax brewed over Thanksgiving, irony's feast. We hosted at the penthouse. Hargrove Sr. Ethan's siblings. A dozen Wall Street wolves. Turkey bronzed in the oven. Sides catered from Dean and DeLuca. My parents? Invited as reconciled kin. Under duress. They arrived last. Dad gaunt in an ill-fitting blazer. Mom's smile a rictus. Clutching a bottle of mid-shelf Merlot like a shield. Awkward hugs exchanged. Small talk about the weather while Ethan carved the bird. Seated across from me, Dad's eyes darted to the Porsche fob on the console, gleaming like accusation. Mom forked cranberry, whispering, "This place. You deserve it."
Deserve.
The word ignited. As grace ended, I rose, glass in hand. A toast. To family, the ones who stay, and the ghosts who haunt. Murmurs rippled. Ethan's hand squeezed my thigh under the table. Support? Warning? Dad's fork clattered. Post-meal, while men retired to cigars on the terrace, Mom cornered me in the kitchen, suds bubbling in the sink. Savannah.
Please.
The house. Auction next week. We have nowhere. Choices. I cut in, scrubbing a crystal stemmer. Like framing your daughter for white collar to save your skins. Her face crumpled. We didn't, it was a bluff. The PI was insurance. Insurance. My laugh echoed off marble. Bluff that landed me in a cell. Choking on regret while you cashed pity checks. She recoiled.
Sell?
What are you? The door swung, Ethan. Silhouette sharp. Everything okay? Mom fled. Excuses trailing. He pulled me close. She's unhinged. Like your dad. Overheard him on the phone earlier. Ranting about taking back what's ours. Taking back. Alarm bells clanged. That night, as snow dusted the city, Vinny's update chilled. Rylas meeting a fixer tomorrow.
Ex-con.
Rikers alum. Talking leverage on Hargrove merger. Leverage.
My past.
Weaponized. The frame job. Reloaded. Decision time, controversial core. Expose them now. Risk Ethan's empire? Or preempt? Go nuclear? I chose the blade. Anonymous packet to SEC. Hargrove legal. And a tabloid stringer. Dossier redux. With the confession vid embedded. By dawn, feds were at their door. Headlines exploded. Wall Street wedding crasher. In-laws plot embezzlement hoax. Photos of raids. Mom in handcuffs. Dad's mugshot a ghost of defeat. Ethan raged in our bedroom. CNN blaring. You knew? And said nothing? I protected us. I countered. Voice steel. They'd have burned it all. He stared. Betrayal etching. By lying, we're no better. The rift cracked wide. He stormed out. Need space. Leaving me with the Porsche humming in the garage. Engine a siren's call. Alone. I drove. Midnight streets slick with melt. Radio crooning Adele's heartbreak anthems. Past the club where we'd danced. The bistro of our first date. Rebirth's gift soured. Revenge tasted like ash. Family, up higher, I'd lit myself. Phone rang unknown. I answered. Bluetooth crisp. Dad's voice. Ragged. You bitch. We did it for you, to keep you from their world.
They were using you.
Using. The twist uncoiled. In the old timeline. Ethan's merger? Dirty. Insider trades I'd uncovered too late. Buried under their frame.
But now?
My leaks had tainted it clean. Savannah, he rasped. The vid, it's fake. We never confessed.
Lie?
Or my plant. Backfiring? Heart hammered. What do you want? Fight with us. Against them. Hargrove's the real snake. Hargrove.
Ethan.
The betrayal deepened, not just parents, but the husband I'd rebuilt for. I pulled over. Hudson winds whipping. Dialed Vinny. Check Hargrove files. All of them. His reply. Hours later. Kid. It's bad. Ethan's greenlighting bribes for the telecom deal. Your old man's right. They're the mark. Double cross. The schemer wasn't just family, it was the gilded cage. Climax roared in. Wedding anniversary eve. 6 months post-vows. Ethan returned. Contrite with roses and a velvet box, earrings. Canary diamonds. Forgive me. The mess, it's over. Rylas plead out tomorrow. Over? I accepted the box. Fingers steady. Dinner at Per Se. Overlooking Columbus Circle's chaos. Wines decanted. Foie deconstructed. But as dessert wheeled, molten chocolate in filigreed cages, my phone vibrated under the table. Vinny. Audio. Ethan to fixer. Wife's folks are loose ends. Handle like the last one. Last one.
Me.
In the cell. The suicide, staged not by guards. But Hargrove cleanup. Outsourced to cover the merger's rot. Parents? Patsies. Fed scraps to deflect. I excuse myself. Heels clicking to the ladies. Locked in a stall. Sobs racked, not for loss. But fury reborn. Controversial apex. And it here?
Poison his wine.
Porsche him off the George Washington? No, too quick. Too merciful. Back at table. I smiled. Fork-piercing cake. To us. He clinked. Oblivious. But as we valeted the Porsche, irony's chariot, I whispered to the engine's roar. Your world's ending. Love. That night. In our bed. His snores steady. I uploaded everything. Ethan's bribes. The fixer logs. The staged death plot. To SEC. FBI. Every outlet from Wall Street Journal to TMZ. Leaks flooded like biblical rain. Dawn broke with sirens, not at Rylas, but our door. Feds in windbreakers. Badges flashing. Ethan bolted up. Sheet clutching. Save? What's? Endgame. I said, slipping into jeans, Porsche keys in pocket. You killed me once. This time, I drive away. His face shock. Then realization. The cell. You couldn't have. Couldn't. Laughter bitter. Watch me. Cuffed. He lunged.
Bitch.
It was business. Business. The word that birthed empires and graves. Mom and Dad, waiting in the lobby, veiled and broken, eyes wide as I passed. Savannah? Forgiven, I murmured, brushing Mom's cheek. But free.
Outside.
Porsche purred to life. Tires biting slush. City blurred, towers of glass and greed receding. Rebirth's gift, not just revenge,
But release.
Word count, 1002. File 4. Parents ignored my wedding until they spotted my $150,000 Porsche in the driveway and remembered me. Interstate 95 unspoled north. A black ribbon under sodium lamps. The Porsche's headlights carving tunnels through the witching hour. Wind howled over the targa top, whipping my curls into frenzy. But the cold couldn't touch the fire in my veins. Radio static crackled, news alerts bleeding through. Breaking. Hargrove Empire implodes in bribery scandal. CEO Ethan Hargrove detained. His face flashed on the dashboard screen. That megawatt smile twisted in mugshot pallor.
Good.
Let the wolves circle. I didn't stop till dawn crested the Berkshires. Pulling into a roadside diner off exit 12, Formica counters. Coffee black as sin. Truckers nursing hangovers over hash. Booth by the window. I nursed a mug. Scrolling feeds on the burner. Twitter, X now. In this timeline's churn, erupted. Hargrove fall trending. Memes of Ethan's yacht sinking in cartoon flames. My leaks had gone viral. Anonymous hero or villain, depending on the spin. Whistleblower wife torches tycoon hubby, one headline crowed. Vengeful gold digger's revenge, sneered another. Vengeful? Damn right. But gold? Nah. I'd wired the crypto nest egg offshore pre-drop. A cool 8 figures from dips I'd nailed like prophecy. Enough for reinvention. Far from Manhattan's maw. Phone buzzed, Mom. I answered. Exhaust fumes curling in the cab. Savannah? Where are you? The news, Ethan. Safe. I cut in. Voice steady over the diner's sizzle. And you? Plea deal hold. Dad's baritone rumbled in the background. Hoarse from tears or tantrums. We're out on bond. But the house gone. Everything. Everything. The word echoed my cell's void. Concrete walls. The drip of regret. Start over. Like I did. Silence stretched, broken by Mom's sniffle. Come home. We can.
No.
Firm. Final. Home's a lie you sold.
But.
The brooch? In the attic box.
Pawn it.
Grandma's luck might stick.
Click.
Line dead. Forgiveness wasn't absolution. It was amputation. Clean cut. No gangrene. Vinny called next. Gravel voice amused. Kid. You're a legend. Feds want your statement, off books. Of course. And Marco? Says drop by Bed Stewie anytime. Drinks on him. I chuckled. First real one in months. Tell him thanks. For the tips. Highway called. Porsche devouring miles toward Boston neutral ground. No ghosts. There. A new gig waited. Fintech startup poaching talent. My consulting resume polished by Rebirth's hindsight. No more slinging lattes. I'd code algorithms that sniffed fraud like bloodhounds. Ironic justice. But the drive north dredged depths. Memories flickered. Not just the death, but the life unlived. Barista dreams of poetry books. NYU nights debating ethics in dorms that reeked of ramen and revolution. I'd traded fire for frost, passion for payback. Worth it? The scales tipped uneasy. Pull off at a Vista, Massachusetts wood skeletal in winter hush. I stepped out, breath fogging, overlooking valleys where rivers snaked silver. Phone again, unknown Connecticut. Dad. Save.
Pause.
Swallow. We watched the broadcast.
The cell thing. How?
Doesn't matter. Wind bit. But I leaned into it. What now? Therapy. AA for me. Mom's joining a group, Debtors Anonymous or some shit. Russell. Like paper shuffling. And you? That car, it's something. The Porsche. Parked like a panther. Curves lethal in low light. It's freedom. Remember it when you rebuild. He exhaled.
Long.
We were wrong. About everything. But proud now. Really.
Proud.
The hook I'd chase lifetimes for. Prove it. To yourselves. Hang up. No tears, catharsis. Dry as bone. Boston welcomed gray. Harbor fog muffling horns. Loft and seaport. Views of ferries chugging to islands I'd explore on whims. First day at the startup. Glass-walled war room. Coders in hoodies pitching AI sentinels.
My boss.
A whip-smart Indian woman named Priya. Shook my hand firm. Heard about the scandal. Balls to blow it open. Rumor. I demurred. But she winked. Nights blurred into code and Cabernet. Networks weaving sans nepotism. Dates? Casual, a bar prof in lit. A sculptor with tattooed knuckles. No rings. No rushes. Rebirth taught. Love's a luxury. Not a leash. Spring thawed. Cherry blossoms dusting the common like confetti for second chances. Mom texted photos. Her at a community garden. Dirt under nails. Dad at a podium. Sharing his story to wide-eyed suits. Progress. Pixelated. Ethan's trial-dominated summer feeds. Plea bargain. 10 years white-collar in Otisville. No country club. His parents? Disgraced. Selling the Hamptons pile to bail him out. Last whisper. A letter forwarded. His script shaky. I loved you. In my way. Forgive. Burned it in the loft sink. Flames dancing blue.
No.
Twist landed fall equinox. Vinny's call.
Urgent.
Kid, Ryla's clean. But a ghost from your past. That prison hack. The guard who roughed you.
He's out.
Talking.
Talking.
To tabloids? Cops? My gut twisted. The chokehold. Blood bubbling. Their laughter as life ebbed. Reborn. I'd buried it. But grave shallow. Handle? Vinny pressed.
No.
Voice iron. Let him talk. Truth's my shield now. He did interview dropped. Ex-guard spills on Riker's horror. Wall Street widows suicide staged. Outrage ignited. Protests at City Hall. Op-eds decrying elite impunity. My name trended survivor. Not suspect. Priya pulled me aside post-buzz. Take point on the fraud AI. Your story, it's gold for funding. I did. Pitching VCs in hoodies and hype. Checks cleared. Company ballooned. Marco visited once. Toasting with espresso martinis. From pawn shop to powerhouse. Riley blood runs hot. Hotter than hellfire. You'll rolled in. Snow blanketing the harbor. I drove south, not to Connecticut, but neutral, a farm-to-table in Providence. Parents waited. Older. Softer. Dad's hair fully silver. Mom's laugh lines earned. Not etched. Hugs lingered.
Real.
Over cider-braised pork. Story spilled. Their rock bottom. My ascent. No Porsche flex, just the woman who'd outrun her noose. You rebuilt us, Mom said. Eyes misty.
No.
You did.
Fork down.
But. Family? Maybe.
Maybe.
The word. Elastic as hope. Back in Boston. New Year's Eve. Fireworks burst over the Charles. I stood balcony. Porsche below like a faithful steed. Rebirth's arc, not just thrones toppled, but self-forged in the fall. Twists echo, a voicemail. Ethan's voice from Otisville. Contrite crackle. Save, saw the interview.
I'm sorry.
For all. Live big. Deleted. But kept the scar. Happy? Not fairy tale, scarred. Sure-footed. Tragic? Only if you mourn the dead. I revved south at dawn. Not fleeing, but forward. Wedding ghosts? Faded. Portia purred approval. Savannah Riley. Unchained. And in the rear view, America blurred, gritty, golden, unforgiving. Mine to conquer. On my terms.